I always thought rich people whispered. Turns out they hiss. I was standing behind a marble column in the empty wedding hall, trying to figure out where the hell the bathroom was, when I heard them. Blake Torrance and his mother Vivian huddled near the altar like conspirators in a bad movie. The acoustics in that place were ridiculous. Every word bounced off those vaulted ceilings like they were performing Shakespeare. After the ceremony, during the reception, Vivian said. Her voice had that polished edge that comes from decades of country club luncheons. We humiliate her in front of everyone, make it public, make it devastating. She'll sign whatever we place in front of her the next day. Blake laughed. Actually laughed. After we take everything, I'll file the papers. Fastest divorce in county history. I pressed my back against the column, my heart hammering against my ribs. The marble felt cold through my shirt. My hands were shaking. What she's really doing is upgrading us. Once we have control of her father's land deal, once we extract what we need from that pathetic little family, we dispose of her like the trash she is. Mom, you're brilliant. I know, darling. I should have stormed in right then. Should have grabbed Blake by his expensive collar and thrown him through one of those stained glass windows. Should have told Vivian exactly what kind of woman raises a son like that. But I didn't. Instead, I stood there, breathing through my nose, counting to 10, then 20, then losing count entirely. Because the thing about anger is this. It comes in two flavors. There's the hot kind, the kind that makes you stupid, makes you swing first and regret it in a holding cell. And then there's the cold kind, the kind that simmers, the kind that plans. Some men snap. I simmer. I'm Dean Halstrom, 50 years old, former construction foreman turned building code consultant after a job site accident, left me with a reconstructed shoulder and a permanent limp. Not the kind of guy people take seriously at first glance. I look weathered, I move slow, and I don't dress for success. But I've spent 30 years reading blueprints and people, and I've gotten pretty good at both. My daughter Erin is 25, warm, soft-spoken, raised her right. Me and Laura made sure of that. We didn't have money, but we had each other, and we taught Erin that kindness wasn't weakness, that trusting people wasn't naive. Apparently, we taught her too well. Blake Torrance is 27, looks like he walked out of a cologne ad, and comes from the kind of money that buys silence and influence. His mother Vivian is 55, perfectly preserved, and has the moral compass of a loan shark. I'd met them twice before this, once at the engagement party, once at a dinner where Vivian spent 2 hours explaining why Erin should consider professional etiquette coaching. Translation: you're not good enough for us, but we're taking you anyway. I should have seen this coming. The rehearsal was scheduled for 6 in the evening. It was 5:30, and the wedding planner had sent everyone out for a break before we ran through the ceremony. The hall was one of those old converted churches with too much gold trim and not enough soul. Laura was outside with Erin, probably going over last-minute details. The wedding was tomorrow, less than 24 hours away, and these two bastards were planning to destroy my daughter in front of 200 guests. I waited until their footsteps faded toward the side exit. Then I moved. My shoulder ached. It always does when I'm stressed, but I forced myself to walk normally. Can't let them see you sweat. Can't let them know you know. Outside, the parking lot was bathed in that orange autumn light that makes everything look like a painting. Laura saw me first. She's 47, sharp-tongued, smarter than me by a mile, and the only person who can read my face like a book. Dean, you look like you've seen a ghost. I opened my mouth to answer, but Blake and Vivian emerged from the side door before I could form words. Blake was on his phone, laughing about something. Vivian was adjusting her scarf, probably Italian silk, probably cost more than my truck. "Dean!" Blake called out, all fake warmth and white teeth. "There you are. We were just discussing the seating arrangements. Mother wants to make sure your family is properly accommodated." "I bet she does." "That's thoughtful," I said. My voice came out steady. Years of dealing with site inspectors and angry contractors Taught me how to sound calm when I wanted to break something. Blake walked over and clapped me on the shoulder, the bad one. I didn't flinch, but it took effort. You know, Dean, I've been meaning to tell you. That land deal you're consulting on? The riverfront project? My family has some interest in that area. We should talk about it. Maybe collaborate. There it was. The real reason for this whole charade. 6 months ago, I was brought in as a consultant for a major development deal along the Mississippi River. Historic properties, complicated zoning, huge money involved. The developer needed someone who understood the local building codes inside and out. My late father had owned a small parcel along that stretch. Nothing huge, but strategically located. When he died, I inherited it. Nothing I planned to sell, but apparently, the Torrances had other ideas. We can talk, I said. After the wedding. Oh, absolutely. Blake's smile widened. After the wedding, when we're all family. Vivian glided over, her heels clicking on the asphalt. Dean, I hope you don't mind, but we've made a small change to the ceremony. We'd like Erin to sign a prenuptial agreement. Just a formality, of course. Something simple, to protect both parties. Laura stiffened beside me. A prenup? The day before the wedding? These things are standard in families of our standing. Vivian's smile could have frozen water. I'm sure you understand. We're not questioning Erin's character. We simply want to ensure everyone is protected. Protected. Right. What they wanted was leverage. A document signed under pressure, probably filled with clauses that would give them legal access to my land, my consulting contracts, everything we'd built. We'll read it over, Laura said, ice in every syllable. Carefully. Of course, of course. Vivian waved a perfectly manicured hand. Our lawyer will send it tonight. Blake, darling, we should go. Dinner reservations. Blake leaned in close to me as they left. Close enough that I could smell his expensive cologne. Close enough that when he shoved me, just lightly, just a little push against my chest, only I would notice. Just joking, he said, grinning. See you tomorrow, Dean. I didn't move, didn't react, just stood there, holding his gaze until he looked away first. Small victory, but I'd take it. They drove off in a black Mercedes that cost more than my house. Dean, Laura grabbed my arm. What happened in there? Not here, I said. At home. Where's Erin? She went to pick up her dress, said she'd meet us at the house. We drove home in silence. Laura knew better than to push when I got like this, quiet, controlled, dangerous. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of red and purple. Pretty. Didn't match my mood at all. Our house is small. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, driveway full of cracks. It's not much, but it's ours, paid off after 25 years of mortgage payments. The lawn needs mowing, the gutters need cleaning. Suddenly, all of it felt precious, like something worth protecting. I was halfway to the front door when Laura's phone buzzed. It's Erin, she said, reading the screen. Her face went pale. She's upset. She's coming here now. Blake showed up at the bridal shop with the prenup. He wants her to sign it tonight. I stopped walking, turned around. She knew. Without me saying a word, she knew something was terribly wrong. What did you hear? She asked quietly. Everything, I said. I heard everything. The front door opened and Erin came running out. Her eyes were red. Her hands were shaking. She was holding a folder, the prenup probably, and she looked at me with the same trust she'd had as a little girl, that absolute faith that Dad could fix anything. Dad, she said, her voice breaking. Blake wants me to sign a prenup tonight. A new one. He said it's just formality, but I caught him smirking with his cousin. They were talking about the big reveal at the wedding. What does that mean? What's happening? I pulled her into a hug. Over her shoulder, I met Laura's eyes. Go inside, I said to both of them. We need to talk. All 3 of us. As we walked into the house, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me check. The text read, "Call me if you don't want your daughter humiliated tomorrow." No name, no context, just that single line. I showed Laura. She frowned, mouthed, "Who?" I didn't know, but I was about to find out. Some men snap, I simmer. And right then, in that moment, I decided that Blake Torrance and his mother were going to learn exactly what happens when you threaten a man's daughter. They wanted a show? Fine. I'd give them a show they'd never forget. Before we continue, hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We'd love to get to know our audience better. We sat at the kitchen table, the three of us, while the prenup document spread out like a crime scene between us. 47 pages of legal jargon designed to sound protective while actually being predatory. Laura read it with her reading glasses perched on her nose, her finger tracing each clause. Erin kept wiping her eyes. I made coffee that nobody drank. "This is insane," Laura said after 20 minutes. "Listen to this. In the event of dissolution of marriage, Party B relinquishes all claims to assets acquired during the marriage, including but not limited to real estate holdings, investment portfolios, and business interests directly or indirectly related to Party A's family enterprises." Party B is Erin. "What does that mean?" Erin asked. "It means they take everything," I said flatly. "And look at page 12, the clause about inheritance rights. They want access to my father's property. They're not even hiding it." Laura flipped to page 12. Her jaw tightened. "This isn't a prenup. This is a hostage negotiation. Blake said it was standard." Erin's voice was small, lost. "He said all wealthy families do this. He said if I loved him, I'd sign it." I took a slow breath. Controlled. "Erin, look at me." She did. Her eyes were so much like her mother's. Brown, expressive, trusting. "Do you want to marry Blake?" She hesitated. "I thought I did. We've been together for 2 years. He's been good to me. Mostly." "Mostly?" "He can be controlling sometimes. About what I wear, who I spend time with. But he says it's because he cares." She looked down at her hands. "His mother says I need refinement. That I'm not sophisticated enough. But I figured I could learn. I could change." Laura reached across the table and grabbed Erin's hand. "Baby, you don't change yourself for someone who loves you. They love you as you are." "Your mother's right," I said. "But there's something else. Something I need to tell you both." I told them about the conversation I'd overheard. Every word, every detail. Erin's face went from disbelief to horror to something harder, something angrier. Laura's expression shifted from shock to calculation. I knew that look. She was already planning. "They were going to humiliate me?" Erin's voice shook. "In front of everyone? At my own wedding?" "That was the plan," I said. "Humiliate you publicly. Pressure you when you're vulnerable. Get you to sign over whatever they want. Then divorce you fast and move on." "But why?" Erin stood up, pacing. "Why go through all of this? If they just wanted your land, they could have approached you directly." "Because they don't just want the land," Laura said quietly. She was still studying the prenup. "They want legitimacy. Dean's consulting on that riverfront project. He has relationships with the developers, the city planning office, the historical preservation board. They can't just buy their way in. They need someone on the inside, someone they control." "Through me," Erin said bitterly. "Through you," I confirmed. "You were never a person to them. You were leverage." Erin stopped pacing, stood there in the middle of our small kitchen, surrounded by our modest life, and something in her face changed. The softness hardened. The trust calcified into determination. "What do we do?" she asked. Laura and I exchanged a look. We'd been married 26 years. We could have entire conversations without words. This one went something like, "Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Yes. Is it crazy? Absolutely. Are we doing it anyway? Damn right we are. We give them what they want, I said slowly. We let them think everything is going according to plan, and then we destroy them. How? Erin asked. I don't know yet, I admitted. But I have until tomorrow evening to figure it out. My phone buzzed again. That unknown number. I opened the message. My name is Amber. I'm Blake's ex-girlfriend. I know what they're planning. Meet me tonight. Alone. I'll be at Rosie's Diner on Highway 52 at 10 o'clock. Come or don't, but if you want to save your daughter, you'll come. I showed Laura the message. She frowned. Could be a trap. Could be, I agreed. But she knows something, and right now, information is the only weapon we have. I'm coming with you, Laura said. No, someone needs to stay with Erin. Keep her safe. Keep her away from Blake if he shows up. Dad, I can handle Blake, Erin started. I know you can, I said. But humor me. Let me do this. She nodded reluctantly. Laura didn't look happy, but she understood. Sometimes you split up to cover more ground. Sometimes you trust your partner to do what needs doing. I kissed Laura, hugged Erin, and headed out into the October night. Rosie's Diner was one of those places that never closes and never changes. Red vinyl booths, checkered floors, coffee that could strip paint. I'd been coming here since I was a teenager. The waitress, Donna, had known me for 30 years and didn't ask questions when I slid into a corner booth at 9:45. The woman who walked in at exactly 10 o'clock looked nervous. Mid-20s, dark hair pulled back, wearing jeans and a leather jacket. She scanned the diner, spotted me, and walked over with the careful stride of someone expecting trouble. Dean Halstrom? She asked. Amber? She sat down across from me, ordered coffee she didn't drink, and pulled out her phone. I dated Blake for 3 years, she said without preamble. Met him in college, thought he was charming, thought his family's money didn't matter. I was wrong on both counts. What happened? His mother happened. Vivian decided I wasn't good enough. Wrong background, wrong connections, wrong everything. She offered me money to leave. When I refused, she destroyed my reputation. Social media posts that weren't me, photos doctored to make me look unstable, rumors spread through every circle that mattered. I lost friends, lost job opportunities, lost myself for a while. She turned her phone toward me. Screenshots filled the screen. Text messages from Blake to someone named Tyler, his cousin apparently. I'm going to break her in front of everyone. Mom's idea. Public humiliation works best. She'll cry, she'll sign, and we'll be done with the Halstrom trash by Monday. The prenup has everything we need. Dad's lawyers made it ironclad. I read through them all. Each one was worse than the last. Casual cruelty, calculated malice, and underneath it all, Vivian's influence, poisoning her son with every word. Why are you showing me this? I asked. Because I want them to pay, Amber said simply. I want Vivian to feel what I felt. I want Blake to understand that actions have consequences. And because your daughter doesn't deserve what they're planning. How did you know about the wedding? I've been watching them, not stalking, she added quickly. Just staying aware. I knew Blake was engaged. I knew he was following the same pattern he followed with me. Charm, promise, trap. But this time he's going farther. This time he's planning total destruction. I studied her face. Anger there, yes. Hurt, but also determination. She reminded me of Erin, actually. Someone who'd trusted the wrong person and was still paying the price. What do you want from me? I asked. Use me, she said. Use the fact that I exist. Blake and Vivian think I'm beaten, think I'm scared, think I'll never talk. They're wrong. I'll testify. I'll show these messages in court if needed. I'll do whatever it takes to stop them. This won't be pretty, I warned. If I do what I'm thinking of doing, it's going to get messy, public, ugly. Good, Amber said. Let it be ugly. They've earned it. We talked for another hour. She gave me copies of everything, messages, emails, even recordings of phone calls where Blake bragged about his plans. Nothing illegal, she assured me. Single-party consent state, everything admissible. One more thing, she said as I stood to leave. Vivian's husband, Blake's father, Edward Torrance, he's not like them. He's old-school money, believes in honor and reputation. He doesn't know what they're planning. If he did, he'd stop them? He'd disown them, Amber said. Edward Torrance takes the family name seriously. This kind of public scandal would be his worst nightmare. I filed that information away. Useful, very useful. Thank you, I said, for being brave enough to reach out. Thank your daughter for me, Amber replied, for being worth saving. I drove home through empty streets, my mind racing, plans forming and dissolving and reforming. Laura was still awake when I got there, sitting at the kitchen table with her laptop open and notes spread everywhere. Erin's asleep, she said. Poor thing cried herself out. How was the meeting? I showed her everything Amber had given me, watched her face go through the same journey mine had. Shock, disgust, anger, determination. This is good, Laura said. This is evidence, but it's not enough, is it? No, I agreed. Evidence proves they're bad people. But it doesn't stop the wedding. It doesn't protect Erin, and it doesn't give us what we really need. Which is? Revenge, I said simply. Not violence, not anything illegal, but complete, total, devastating revenge. I want Blake and Vivian to feel exactly what they were planning to do to Erin. I want them humiliated. I want them broken. I want them to understand that you don't threaten a man's family and walk away unscathed. Laura smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a woman who'd spent 26 years watching her husband's back and was ready to watch him fight. Then we need a plan, she said. A good one. And we have... She checked her watch. 19 hours to pull it off. We worked through the night. Coffee and strategy and careful plotting. By the time the sun came up, we had the skeleton of a plan. Risky, complicated, requiring perfect timing and a little bit of luck, but possible. Definitely possible. Erin came downstairs at 7, looking exhausted but determined. I'm not signing the prenup, she said, and I'm not marrying Blake. Actually, I said, you might have to do both. She stared at me. What? Sit down, Laura said gently. We have a lot to explain. We told her the plan, all of it. The pieces we had, the pieces we needed, the ways it could go wrong. Her eyes got wider with every detail. This is crazy, she said when we finished. Probably, I agreed. They could sue us. They could try. They could make our lives hell. They already planned to. Erin looked at both of us, her parents, the people who'd raised her to be kind and trusting and good. We were asking her to be something else now, something harder. I'm in, she said finally. Let's burn their whole world down. That's my girl. The phone rang at 8. Blake. I put it on speaker. Dean. Morning. Listen, about that prenup. Any concerns? Questions? We really need Erin to sign it today. Lawyer's orders. No concerns, I lied smoothly. She'll sign it this afternoon. Can you meet us at the wedding venue at 3? We can take care of everything there. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. See you then. He hung up. I looked at Laura and Erin. Game on, I said. And just like that, we were committed. No turning back, no changing our minds. We had 8 hours to set everything in motion. 8 hours to destroy the Torrance family from the inside out. Some men snap. I simmer. And now, I was boiling over. Every eye in that reception hall turned to me. I stood there in my rented tux, calm as morning water, and let them look. Let them process. Let them understand. Blake found his voice first. You planned this. You sabotaged my wedding. Your wedding? I said mildly. Funny. I thought this was Erin's wedding. But I guess that's the problem, isn't it? You never saw her as a person, just as property. You had no right. Vivian's voice was shaking. That footage was private. Those messages were confidential. Actually, Laura stood up beside me, every piece of evidence shown here tonight was obtained legally. Single-party consent for the audio recordings, security footage from public spaces, text messages willingly shared by participants. We haven't broken any laws. Unlike you, Amber appeared from where she'd been sitting in the back. What you did to me, what you were planning to do to Erin, that's harassment, that's fraud, that's abuse. Blake's cousin Tyler tried to slip out the side door. Frank Morrison's team blocked his exit. Nobody leaves, Frank announced. Not until the police arrive. Police? Blake's voice cracked. You called the police? We did, Laura said. About 20 minutes ago. Right around the time your fabricated video started playing. Slander, defamation, fraud. You've committed several crimes tonight, Blake. We just documented them in front of 200 witnesses. Edward Torrance walked toward his son and wife. His footsteps echoed in the silent room. When he spoke, his voice was cold. Is it true? All of it? Blake opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No words came out. Edward, Vivian started, this is all a misunderstanding. Don't. Edward held up one hand. Don't insult my intelligence. I just watched 20 minutes of evidence. I heard your voices. I saw your messages. I know exactly what you did. It was business, Vivian said desperately. Just business. The land deal would have made us millions. By destroying an innocent woman? Edward's voice rose. By humiliating a family who did nothing wrong? By turning our family name into a joke? He turned to Blake. You're my son. I raised you to be better than this, to be honorable, to respect people. And instead you became... He trailed off, shaking his head. I don't even know what you became. Dad, please, Blake said. We can fix this. We can make everyone sign NDAs. No, Edward said simply. You can't, because I'm not going to let you. He pulled out his phone, made a call. James, Edward Torrance. I need you to invoke Section 7 of the Family Trust immediately. Yes, the morality clause, both of them, my wife and my son. Effective tonight. Vivian's face went ashen. Edward, you can't. That would mean... Complete disinheritance, Edward finished. Loss of trust fund access. Removal from all company positions. The Torrance family name and fortune no longer belong to you. Either of you. You're overreacting, Vivian hissed. This will blow over. Scandals always do. Not this one, Edward said, because I'm going to make sure everyone knows what you did. Every business partner, every social contact, every friend we have. The Torrance name stands for integrity. You've destroyed that. So now you're no longer Torrance's. Police sirens wailed outside. Frank Morrison opened the main doors to let them in. Blake suddenly lunged toward Erin. This is your fault. You ruined everything. I stepped in front of her. Blake shoved me hard, forgetting about my bad shoulder, and pain exploded through my arm. But I didn't fall. I grabbed his wrist, twisted, and used his own momentum to send him stumbling into a table. Don't, I said quietly. Touch my daughter. Blake scrambled to his feet, wild-eyed, and swung at me. I blocked the punch, barely, and caught his arm. For a moment, we were locked together, and I could see everything in his face, the rage, the entitlement, the absolute inability to accept that he'd lost. I shoved him away just as the police entered. He stumbled backward, crashed into the cake table, and the whole thing collapsed. The cake hit the floor. The white cloth pooled around Blake's feet, and there, taped underneath where the table had been, was a package, clear plastic bag. Everything Amber and Laura and I had compiled as backup evidence. Physical copies of messages, printed screenshots, signed testimony. The same package I'd told Vivian to look under the cake table when I'd answered her call earlier and said Erin wasn't coming. Except Erin had come. But the evidence was still there, waiting. Look under the cake table, I'd said. She had no idea it was a trap within a trap, that even if our digital presentation failed, even if something went wrong, the physical evidence would still be there to destroy them. Blake stared at the package, at the collapsed table, at the ruined cake around his knees, at the complete destruction of everything he'd planned. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." The police moved in. One officer approached Edward, who immediately started explaining the situation. Another approached Blake and Vivian. "We need statements from everyone," the lead officer announced. "Nobody leaves until we sort this out." Erin walked past Blake without looking at him. Walked past the ruined cake. Walked straight to me and Laura and wrapped us both in a hug. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for fighting for me." "Always," I said. "Always and forever." The next 2 hours were chaos. Police interviews, witness statements, the venue staff trying to process what they'd just seen. Half the guests had their phones out, recording, posting to social media. The other half were whispering, gossiping, spreading the story faster than any news outlet could. By midnight, Torrance wedding scandal was trending locally. By morning, it would be national news. Amber found me during a break in the police interviews. "They're going to press charges against Vivian and Blake. Fraud, harassment, attempted theft through deception. The prosecutor seems really interested." "Good," I said. "Let them face consequences." "Edward's serious about the disinheritance, too. My lawyer friend says the morality clause is ironclad. They're going to lose everything." "Also good." She studied my face. "You don't feel bad? Even a little?" I thought about it. About Blake calling Erin and me nothing. About Vivian planning to break my daughter's spirit. About the casual cruelty of people who had so much but wanted to take from those with so little. "No," I said. "I don't feel bad at all." Around 1 a.m, the police finally let most people leave. Blake and Vivian were escorted to the station for formal statements. Edward left alone, looking 10 years older. The venue staff started cleanup, still shaking their heads in disbelief. Laura, Erin, and I walked out into the October night. The air was cool and clean. Above us, stars shone through gaps in the clouds. "What happens now?" Erin asked. "With the marriage, I mean." "Annulment," Laura said. "The prenup was signed under fraudulent pretenses. The marriage was based on lies and manipulation. Any lawyer worth their degree will get it dissolved within a month." "And then?" "And then you live your life," I said. "You heal, you grow, you find someone who deserves you, someone who sees you as a person, not a prize." "I'm going to need therapy," Erin said. "A lot of therapy." "We'll find you the best," Laura promised. "Whatever you need." We drove home in comfortable silence. The house looked small and humble after the grand disaster of the wedding venue. But it was ours. Safe. Real. Inside, we collapsed on the couch together. Exhausted. Victorious. Changed. "Dad?" Erin said after a while. "Back at the rehearsal, when you first heard them planning all of this, what were you feeling?" I thought about the moment. About standing behind that marble column, listening to Blake and Vivian plot my daughter's destruction. About the rage and fear and helplessness. "I was feeling like I had to protect you," I said. "Whatever it took, whatever the cost. You're my daughter. That's what fathers do." "You turned villain for me," she said quietly. "No," Laura corrected. "He turned into exactly the kind of hero the situation needed. Sometimes protecting people means fighting back hard. Sometimes it means meeting cruelty with consequences." "I was scared," I admitted. "The whole time. Scared we'd fail. Scared they'd hurt you anyway. Scared I wouldn't be strong enough or smart enough or fast enough to stop them." "But you were," Erin said. "You were all of those things." "We were," I corrected. "All of us together. Your mother's planning, Amber's courage, your strength. We did this as a team." My phone buzzed. News alert. Torrance family empire crumbles after wedding scandal. Fraud charges filed. Another buzz. Frank Morrison. FYI, more evidence coming out. Tyler's cooperating with police to save himself. He's giving up everything about their business dealings. This is going to be bigger than anyone thought. Laura read over my shoulder. The Riverfront project? Probably compromised, I said. If Blake and Vivian were planning fraud there, the whole deal might collapse. Your father's land? Still mine. Still safe. They never got their hands on it. Another buzz. This time from Amber. Thank you for letting me be part of this. For the first time in 3 years, I feel like I got justice. Blake can't hurt anyone else now. I showed Erin the message. She smiled, tired but genuine. We should stay friends with her. She's been through the same thing I almost went through. She understands. I think that's a good idea, Laura said. We sat there together until the sun started to rise, processing everything that had happened, the wedding that wasn't, the revenge that was, the destruction of 2 people who'd thought themselves untouchable. At 7 a.m, Edward Torrance called. Dean, it's Edward. I wanted to apologize. For my wife, for my son, for everything they put your family through. Thank you, I said carefully. But you're not responsible for their choices. I am, though. I raised Blake. I married Vivian. I built the fortune they abused. I should have seen what they were becoming. You saw it tonight. That's what matters. The disinheritance is final, Edward continued. I've also started a full audit of all family businesses. If there's fraud anywhere else, I'll find it. And I'll make sure anyone who was harmed gets compensation. That's generous. It's necessary. The Torrance name used to mean something good. I intend to restore that, even if I have to dismantle everything and start over. He paused. Your daughter, is she okay? She will be. If she needs anything, legal help, therapy, financial support while she recovers from this, please let me know. I consider it my personal obligation to help her heal. I'll tell her. Thank you, Edward. No, thank you, Dean, for having the courage to expose them, for being the kind of father who actually protects his children. I wish I'd been more like you. He hung up. I relayed the conversation to Laura and Erin. He sounds genuine, Erin said, like he really didn't know what they were doing. He probably didn't, Laura said. Men like Edward build empires and trust their families to maintain them. He had no idea his wife and son were parasites. Will they go to prison? Erin asked. Maybe, I said. Depends on what the investigation finds. But even if they don't, they've lost everything else. Money, status, reputation. They're finished in every way that matters to them. The morning news started covering the story. Video footage from guests who'd recorded the revelation, commentary from legal experts, interviews with people who'd known Blake and Vivian. The scandal was growing, spreading, becoming the kind of cautionary tale that would follow them forever. Around noon, my phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered cautiously. Dean Halstrom? Speaking. This is Jennifer Walsh from the state attorney's office. I'm handling the case against Blake and Vivian Torrance. I wanted to thank you for the evidence you've provided. It's incredibly thorough. I had help, I said. Good people who'd been hurt by them. Well, the help paid off. We're building a strong case. Fraud, harassment, attempted theft, falsification of documents. Blake and Vivian are looking at serious charges. They'll definitely face consequences. Good, I said. They should. There's something else, Jennifer continued. Tyler Torrance is cooperating. He's revealed a pattern of similar schemes going back 5 years. Other women who were targeted, other families who were manipulated. We're opening multiple investigations. How many? I asked. At least 7 that we know of so far. The FBI's getting involved too, since some of it crosses state lines. 7 families. 7 women like Erin, targeted and used. 7 sets of parents who'd watched their children suffer. Nail them, I said. For all of those families. Make sure Blake and Vivian can never hurt anyone again. That's the plan, Jennifer said. And Dean, you did the right thing. Not many people would have had the courage to fight back this way. You saved your daughter. You probably saved others too. After she hung up, I told Laura and Erin what I'd learned. 7 families, Erin said softly. They were going to keep doing this, over and over, using people and destroying them. Not anymore, I said. You were the last one, the one they didn't break. She smiled, tired, relieved, free. I want to meet them, she said suddenly. The other women, the ones Blake targeted. I want them to know they're not alone. I think that's a beautiful idea, Laura said. The rest of the day passed quietly. We ordered pizza, watched mindless television, and slowly decompressed. News alerts kept buzzing, more revelations, more evidence, more fallout from the scandal. But we ignored most of it. The story was out there now. Other people would handle the details. Around 6 p.m, I walked out to the backyard. The October air was crisp. Leaves were turning colors, falling, covering the lawn in red and gold. Laura joined me after a few minutes. You okay? Yeah, I said. Just thinking. About? About how close we came to losing her, if I hadn't overheard that conversation. If I hadn't been in the right place at the right time, they would have destroyed Erin and we wouldn't have known until it was too late. But you were in the right place, Laura said. And you did hear. And you fought back. That's what matters. I became everything I always told Erin not to be, I said. Vengeful, manipulative, willing to cause pain to protect what's mine. You became what the situation needed you to be, Laura corrected. That's not the same as being a bad person. That's being a father. I pulled her close. After 26 years, she still knew exactly what to say. We're going to be okay, I said. All of us. This isn't the end of the story. It's just the end of one chapter. And the beginning of a better one, Laura agreed. Inside, Erin was on her phone, talking to Amber. They were making plans to meet the other women Blake had targeted, forming a support group, turning pain into purpose. My phone buzzed one last time that night. Edward Torrance. Family trust audit complete. Approximately $12 million was fraudulently obtained through various schemes. I'm setting up a victim compensation fund. We'll be in touch. $12 million. $12 million stolen from families like ours, from people who'd trusted the wrong person at the wrong time. But it was over now. The Torrances were finished. Blake and Vivian would face justice. The people they'd hurt would get compensation and closure. And Erin? Erin would heal. She was young, strong, surrounded by people who loved her. She'd come back from this. She'd be better than before. I leaned against the doorframe, watching my daughter laugh at something Amber said on the phone. Watched Laura in the kitchen, making tea, comfortable and safe in our small home. Some men snap. I simmer. And when I finally boil over, when I'm finally pushed past my breaking point, I burn everything down, but only the things that deserve burning. The weeks after the wedding that wasn't turned into a blur of legal proceedings, media interviews, and slow healing. The Torrance scandal grew bigger than anyone anticipated. What started as a disastrous wedding reception became national news, then a catalyst for broader conversations about wealth, privilege, and the abuse of power. Blake and Vivian were formally charged with fraud, harassment, and criminal conspiracy. The evidence was overwhelming, not just what we'd presented at the wedding, but months of documentation uncovered by investigators. Text messages, financial records, testimonies from Tyler and others who'd participated in their schemes. The trial wouldn't happen for months, maybe years, but the damage was already done. In the court of public opinion, they were finished. I sat in our living room on a November morning, 3 weeks after the wedding, reading the latest news. Laura was beside me with her own coffee, scrolling through her phone. Erin was still asleep upstairs. She'd been sleeping better lately, the nightmares slowly fading. Another article, Laura said, showing me her screen. Forbes piece about Edward Torrance. How a father chose integrity over family. I skimmed the article. Edward had apparently given a long interview about discovering his wife and son's schemes, about the painful decision to disown them, about his plans to restore the Torrance name through charitable work and transparent business practices. He's doing the right thing, I said, more than we could have asked for. The Victim Compensation Fund is up to $15 million now, Laura noted. Contributions from Edward, from business partners who want to distance themselves from Blake and Vivian, from people who just feel sorry for those who were hurt. 15 million divided by how many victims? Last count was 11 families, plus Amber and the other women Blake targeted specifically. Everyone's going to get something, not enough to erase the trauma, but enough to help them rebuild. My phone rang. Jennifer Walsh, the prosecutor. Dean wanted to update you. The judge denied bail for Blake and Vivian. Too much flight risk given their resources and foreign contacts. They're staying in custody until trial. How are they handling that? Poorly. Vivian's demanding special accommodations. Blake's having what his lawyers call adjustment difficulties. Translation: they're both miserable and panicking. I couldn't bring myself to feel sympathy. What's the timeline looking like? Preliminary hearing in January, full trial probably late spring, maybe summer. But honestly, with the evidence we have, I'd expect a plea deal. Their lawyers have to know they'll lose at trial. What kind of plea deal? Likely reduced charges in exchange for full restitution and testimony against any accomplices we haven't identified yet. They'd still see jail time, probably 3 to 5 years, but less than the potential 15 they're facing now. Will they take it? If they're smart, but pride makes people stupid. We'll see. After she hung up, I relayed the conversation to Laura. 3 to 5 years, she said thoughtfully. Not enough, but something. It's not about the years, I said. It's about everything else. They've lost their money, their status, their reputation. They've become cautionary tales. Even after they get out of prison, they'll never recover what they had. Good, Laura said simply. Let them spend the rest of their lives remembering what they tried to do to our daughter. Erin came downstairs around noon, looking better than she had in weeks. She'd started therapy. Edward had connected us with one of the best trauma specialists in the state and was covering all costs. Slowly, painfully, she was working through what had happened. Morning, she said, pouring coffee. Or afternoon, I guess. How'd you sleep? Laura asked. Good, actually. No nightmares. Just normal dreams about normal things. That's progress. I've been thinking, Erin said, sitting at the table with us, about what I want to do next. After the annulment's final, after the trial, after all of this is over. I want to go back to school. For what? I asked. Social work, or maybe law. Something where I can help other people who've been through what I went through, where I can use this experience to make a difference. Laura's eyes got bright. That's a wonderful idea. Edward's compensation fund will help pay for it, Erin continued. And Amber and I have been talking about starting a nonprofit, support for people who've been victimized by intimate partner fraud. It's more common than anyone realizes. You're turning pain into purpose, I said. That's incredibly strong. I learned from the best. She smiled at both of us. You two taught me that when someone hurts you, you don't just survive. You fight back. You make sure they can't hurt anyone else. That's what I want to keep doing. My phone buzzed. Text from Frank Morrison. Thought you'd want to know. The venue's getting calls from national media. Everyone wants to interview the wedding crash hero. I'm telling them all to talk to you directly. Your call whether you want to engage. I showed Laura the message. Media interviews? Could be good, she said. Tell your side of the story. Control the narrative. Or could be invasive and exhausting. I vote no, I said. This isn't about fame or attention. It's about protecting Erin. The story's already out there. We don't need to amplify it. Agreed, Erin said. I just want to move forward, not relive it for entertainment. So I declined the interviews. All of them. Let other people tell the story. The guests who'd been there, the lawyers handling the case, even Edward with his redemption arc. We'd done what we needed to do. The rest was just noise. December arrived with cold winds and early snow. The holidays were subdued but meaningful. Just the three of us, plus Amber, who'd become a real friend, and a few other close family members. No elaborate celebrations, no pretense, just people who cared about each other, sharing time and warmth. On Christmas morning, Erin gave me a gift. A framed photo of the two of us from years ago, her at 10, me at 35, both of us covered in paint after helping renovate a community center. We looked happy, uncomplicated, whole. I found this in an old box, she said. Thought you'd want to remember what we were fighting for, not just stopping Blake and Vivian, but protecting this, our family, our history, everything we've built together. By the time winter returned, a full year after everything happened, life had settled into a new normal. Not the old normal. We could never go back to that innocence, but a better normal, a stronger one. Erin had moved into her own apartment near campus, healthy separation that felt right. Laura and I adjusted to being empty nesters in a way we hadn't really been before. The house felt quieter, but not empty. I was still consulting on building codes, still doing the work I'd always done. But something had changed in how people treated me. Word had spread about what happened. Small community, big scandal. Some people looked at me differently now, like I was dangerous, unpredictable. Let them think that. If it meant protecting my family, I'd wear the label proudly. Laura and I were having coffee one December morning when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Dean Halstrom? Speaking. This is David Chen from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. I'm doing a year-later retrospective on the Torrance wedding scandal. Would you be willing to comment? I'd refused every interview request up to that point, but something about the timing, exactly 1 year, made me reconsider. What kind of retrospective? I asked. Looking at the impact, the law changes Erin helped pass, the Victim Compensation Fund, Edward Torrance's reputation rebuild, the broader conversation about wealth and accountability, human interest angle, not sensationalism. Send me your questions in writing, I said. I'll think about it. He did. That afternoon, an email arrived with thoughtful, respectful questions. Not about the drama or the spectacle, but about the why and the what next. About protection and prevention and family. I showed Laura. What do you think? I think it's time, she said. Time to tell your side directly instead of letting other people interpret it. So I did the interview. Phone call that lasted an hour. Talked about being a father, about the moment I overheard Blake and Vivian plotting, about the decision to fight back rather than quietly cancel everything. Some people criticized your methods, David said. Said the public humiliation was excessive, too cruel. What do you say to that? I say they weren't trying to protect their daughter, I replied. They weren't facing down people who planned to destroy someone they loved. It's easy to judge from the outside. But when you're in it, when you see the trap closing around someone you die for, you do what needs doing. No apologies. Would you do it again? In a heartbeat. And I'd do worse if necessary. Even knowing the consequences, the media attention, the scandal? The only consequence that mattered was whether Erin would be okay. She is. So yes, I'd do every bit of it again. The article came out 2 days later. Balanced, fair, focused on the larger issues. My quotes were prominent, and I came across as not a hero, exactly, but as a father who'd done what fathers should do, protect their children at all costs. Reactions were mixed. Some people praised me. Others said I'd gone too far. A few suggested I'd committed crimes myself, though no prosecutor ever pursued that angle. Everything we'd done was legal, if aggressive. I didn't care about the opinions, only about the outcomes. Blake and Vivian were in prison. Erin was thriving. Other victims were getting help and compensation. Laws had changed. That was enough. Christmas approached again. This time, we had a bigger celebration. Erin brought friends from the nonprofit. Amber came with her new boyfriend. A good guy, gentle and kind, nothing like Blake. Edward Torrance sent a gift basket and a heartfelt card. We toasted to survival, to justice, to the hard work of healing. To family, Laura said, raising her glass. To the people who fight for us and with us. To courage, Amber added. To speaking truth and refusing silence. To second chances, Erin said. And to knowing your worth. I raised my glass last. To remembering that kindness isn't weakness, but neither is fighting back when someone threatens what you love. We drank together, united by shared trauma, but not defined by it. Later that night, after everyone had gone home or gone to bed, I stood on the back porch alone. Cold air, clear sky, stars bright above. Laura joined me after a few minutes, wrapping herself in my coat with me. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, just thinking about how much has changed. A year ago, we were preparing for what we thought would be Erin's wedding. Now she's stronger than she ever would have been without this, Laura finished. That's not to say the trauma was good, but the way she responded to it, the way we all responded, that's something. I became someone I didn't know I could be, I admitted. Calculating, vengeful, willing to destroy people. You became someone willing to protect your child, Laura corrected. That's not the same as being a bad person. That's being exactly the person she needed. I don't regret it, I said. Not a single part of it. That probably says something about me. It says you love your daughter. It says you understand that sometimes mercy isn't the right response. It says you're human. I scared myself, I confessed, when I realized how easily I could plan someone's destruction, how satisfying it felt to watch them fall. You scared Blake and Vivian too, Laura said with a slight smile. Good. Let them remember that regular people can fight back, that hurting someone's child has consequences. Think it'll stick? The lesson? Doesn't matter. They're not our problem anymore. She was right. Blake and Vivian were 3 years away from release at minimum. By then, we'd be even further past this. Erin would have her master's degree. The nonprofit would be established and thriving. Life would have moved on. In January, I was working at a construction site consultation when I ran into someone I hadn't seen in months. Tyler, Blake's cousin. He'd taken a plea deal too, testified against Blake and Vivian, and gotten probation instead of prison time. He looked rough, thin, tired, nervous. When he saw me, he actually flinched. "Dean," he said, "I didn't expect to see you here." "I work here," I said evenly. "Building code consultation." "Right, of course." He shifted his weight. "Look, I wanted to say, I'm sorry. For my part in everything. I knew what Blake and my aunt were planning, and I didn't stop them. That makes me complicit." "Yes, it does." "I've been going to therapy, trying to understand why I went along with it, why I thought it was okay. And I don't have a good answer, except that Blake's family had money and influence, and I wanted some of that, so I compromised my morals, let myself believe hurting your daughter was acceptable if it meant profit. That's honest, at least. I can't undo what I did," Tyler continued, "but I'm trying to be better, make different choices, not that it matters to you or your family." "You're right," I said. "It doesn't matter to us. Your redemption is between you and your conscience." "Fair enough." He nodded, turned to leave, then stopped. "For what it's worth, what you did at the wedding, brutal. But Blake and Aunt Vivian had it coming. They'd been pulling schemes like that for years. You were the first person to really make them pay. Then maybe other people should have spoken up sooner," I said. "Before they got to Erin." "Maybe we should have," Tyler agreed quietly. That's something I have to live with. He walked away. I watched him go, feeling nothing. No satisfaction in his remorse. No pleasure in his obvious suffering. Just emptiness. Some people are worth the energy of hatred. Blake and Vivian qualified. But Tyler? He was just pathetic. A follower who'd made bad choices and now had to live with them. That night, I told Laura about the encounter. Think he's genuinely sorry? She asked. Probably. But sorry doesn't undo harm. It's just the first step in a long process. Will you forgive him? Don't know. Don't really care. Forgiveness isn't something he's owed. If he becomes a better person, good for him. But that's separate from what he did. March brought another milestone. The 2-year mark since Erin and Blake first got engaged. Erin spent the anniversary doing a radio interview about intimate partner fraud, educating people on warning signs. If your partner isolates you from family, she said on air, that's a red flag. If they control your finances, your appearance, your friendships, those are red flags. If their family treats you like property instead of a person, that's a massive red flag. The host asked, what would you tell someone who's in that situation right now? I'd tell them they're not crazy, Erin said firmly. They're not weak. They're being deliberately manipulated by someone who knows exactly what they're doing. And I'd tell them it's okay to fight back. It's okay to get angry. It's okay to destroy the trap instead of just escaping it. Isn't that encouraging vengeance? No, Erin said. I'm encouraging people to protect themselves and prevent future harm. There's a difference between revenge for the sake of revenge and consequences that prevent an abuser from hurting more people. My father understood that. He didn't just save me. He stopped Blake and his mother from targeting anyone else. Some people say what your father did was excessive. Those people can have their opinions, Erin said calmly. But I'm alive and free and whole because of what my parents did. Blake and his mother are in prison where they can't hurt anyone else. Multiple victims received compensation and closure. Laws changed to protect other people. Seems like a pretty good outcome to me. I listened to the interview from my truck, parked outside a job site. My daughter, speaking truth. No apologies, no shame, just strength. That's what I'd fought for. Not just her safety. Her ability to stand tall and say, this happened, and we fought back, and we won. April brought unexpected news. Blake's parole hearing, scheduled for 3 years from sentencing, had been canceled. Apparently, his behavior in prison had been problematic. Fights with other inmates, disciplinary issues, refusal to participate in rehabilitation programs. He'll serve his full 4 years now, Jennifer Walsh told me over the phone. Maybe more if he keeps causing problems. And Vivian? Model prisoner, actually. She's eligible for early release in 18 months if she maintains good behavior. Will that happen? Probably. But she'll come out to nothing. No money, no reputation, no family. Edwards made sure of that. That's something, at least. In May, Erin graduated with her master's degree. Laura and I sat in the audience, watching her walk across that stage, and I felt pride so intense it hurt. She'd survived. She'd transformed. She'd taken the worst thing that almost happened to her and turned it into purpose. That's what victory looked like. At her graduation party, Edward Torrance showed up with a gift, a framed certificate showing that the endowment in Erin's name had helped over 100 victims in its first year of operation. You did this, he told her. Your courage, your advocacy, this is your legacy. We all did this, Erin corrected, looking at Laura and me. Every person who fought back, every victim who spoke up, every parent who protected their child, that's the legacy. Summer passed in productive routine, work, family dinners, quiet evenings. The scandal had faded from headlines, replaced by newer dramas. We were no longer that family from the wedding disaster. We were just us again, better than us, stronger. September marked 2 years since the rehearsal. since I'd hidden behind that marble column and heard Blake and Vivian plotting. 2 years since I'd made the decision to simmer rather than snap, to plan rather than react. Best decision I ever made. I was at the riverfront property, my father's land that the Torrances had wanted so badly, when Laura called. "Turn on the news," she said. I pulled up a news app on my phone. Breaking story. Vivian Torrance released early. Where is she now? Apparently, she'd been released that morning. 18 months served, 6 months remitted for good behavior. The article included a recent photo. She looked old, worn, nothing like the polished woman I'd confronted 2 years ago. "Feel anything?" Laura asked. I looked at the photo. Felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no concern. "No," I said. "She's irrelevant now. Just another person who made terrible choices and paid for them." "Good," Laura said. "That's healthy. Where's she going? The article doesn't say." "Probably somewhere far from here. Edwards made clear she's not welcome anywhere near the family business or properties." "She'll rebuild something," I said. "People like that always do. But it won't be what she had. She'll always be the woman who went to prison for trying to destroy her daughter-in-law." "That's her choice," Laura said. "She could have been different. She chose cruelty." Blake was still in prison, would be for at least another 2 years. When he got out, he'd be 33, with a criminal record and nothing else. No trust fund, no family support, no easy path forward. Good. Let him learn what regular people already knew, that life is hard, that consequences are real, that hurting others eventually catches up with you. October arrived with changing leaves and crisp air. 2 years exactly since the wedding that wasn't. Erin spent the anniversary at a conference, giving the keynote speech on intimate partner fraud prevention. Laura and I spent it at home, quiet and content. 2 years, she said, feels like longer, feels like a lifetime ago. Because we're different people now, I said. We know things we didn't know before. About ourselves, about what we're capable of. Any regrets? I thought about it. Really thought about it. About the planning, the confrontation, the public destruction of Blake and Vivian. About becoming someone willing to fight dirty when necessary. No, I said. No regrets. I'd do it all again exactly the same way. Even the parts that scared you? Especially those parts, because they worked. We sat together in comfortable silence, watching the sun set through our kitchen window. Small house, modest life, everything that mattered to us safely protected. Blake and Vivian had wanted to take this, had planned to destroy Erin and manipulate us and steal what we'd built. They'd thought they were untouchable, thought wealth and influence made them immune to consequences. They'd learned differently. And if other people with similar plans were watching, if they'd heard about the Torrance scandal and what happened when they targeted the wrong family, maybe they'd think twice. Maybe they'd remember that regular people can fight back, that fathers protect their daughters, that there are things worth risking everything for. I stood up, stretched, felt the familiar ache in my bad shoulder. Battle scars, reminders. Laura joined me at the window, slipping her hand into mine. "Think Erin will ever marry again?" she asked. "Someday," I said. "When she finds someone who deserves her, someone who sees her as a partner, not property, someone who respects what she's been through." "Think she'll tell them?" "She'll tell them everything. Won't hide her past or her scars, and if they're worth her time, they'll admire her strength instead of judging her trauma." "Think we'll approve of whoever she chooses?" "As long as they treat her right," I said. "As long as they remember what happened to the last person who didn't." Laura laughed. "You going to tell that story? Warn them about what happens if they hurt her?" "Won't have to. They'll Google her name. First result will be articles about the Torrance scandal. They'll learn real fast what this family does to people who threaten us." "Good," Laura said. "Let that be our reputation. Let people know we protect our own." "Some men snap," I said quietly. "I simmer." And when you boil over? I burn down everything that deserves burning. Laura squeezed my hand. That's my husband, father, protector, avenger when necessary. Just a regular guy, I said, who loves his daughter enough to become a villain if that's what it takes. Not a villain, Laura corrected. A hero. Heroes don't always have to be nice. Sometimes they have to be fierce. We stood there together as darkness fell outside, safe in our small home, protected by bonds stronger than anything Blake and Vivian had tried to break. 2 years ago, I'd stood behind a marble column and heard my daughter's destruction being planned. Tonight, she was thriving, speaking, leading, strong. That was victory. That was everything.